GMC's Terrain debuted 7 years ago for its first generation based on the very popular Chevrolet Equinox. Largely unchanged since then, the Terrain may be one of the oldest vehicles in its class. However, there's still plenty to like of GMC's smallest SUV. So let's go ahead and check out and take a closer look at this 2017 GMC Terrain. Now, not much has changed for the 2017 model year for the Terrain, except for that it does get the addition of standard 18-inch alloy wheels, and then a new black trim Nightfall appearance package is added to the options list. Now, as far as styling goes on the Terrain, it's a lot different than its cousin, than the Equinox. The styling is a little bit blockier, it's a little bit more rugged. I like the styling of the Equinox a little bit better because it's more sleeker. However, this is still a pretty good looking crossover. It really reminds me of the last generation Yukon with its front end, especially the headlights. And then you have this big old front grille, the trapezoidal grille from GMC here. Now here goes the key fob design for the vehicle. It's a typical General Motors switchblade key. You have your unlock, your lock, and then your panic alarm. And then if you want remote engine start, you have to step up to a higher end trim level. And also, higher end trim levels do get the addition of LED daytime running lights, which is nice. Now the color of our Terrain is in this graphite gray metallic, and our trim of the Terrain is also the SLE1, which is a step up above the base model. Now you have your manual recline and your power driver's seat with power lumbar. Now stepping on inside of the Terrain here, the first thing you'll notice is how roomy and comfortable this vehicle is. But as you can see, the design of the interior is certainly getting dated, but this is pretty much identical to what you'll find in the Chevrolet Equinox, which the GMC Terrain is based off of. And what you're hearing there is a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder. You have a 6-speed automatic transmission with manual shiftability.
This vehicle is in
When you put the vehicle into reverse, this will display your rear view camera, and you also do have guidance lines too. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on the lights and the hazards. Automatic driver's side window. Let's go and pop up the hood and check out the engine bay. Let's go ahead and check out the exterior of the vehicle. Now, the GMC Terrain debuted in 2010 with very minor changes since then. However, it's been one of GMC's best-selling products. And when you combine the sales of the Equinox and the Terrain together, they're one of the top-selling vehicles in America. Coming up front, you have halogen projector beam headlights. You can also go for LED daytime running lights on higher end trims, which will be slotted right here. Powering the Terrain here is what most people are going to opt for. It's a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine, and it's your base powertrain. It produces 182 horsepower at 6,700 RPM and 172 pound-feet of torque at 4,900 RPM, with EPA estimates being an okay 21 in the city and 31 on the highway. And you can go for front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Now, this is actually the powertrain you'll want to avoid. Now, it sounds pretty good on paper, but when you're actually driving this vehicle, it feels very sluggish when you're doing hard acceleration, and it's just not all that powerful. You'll definitely want to step up to the 3.6 liter V6, which is needed for this size of vehicle, and that produces 301 horses, and it's one of the fastest powertrains that you can get out of this size of a crossover. Pricing of the Terrain starts at the base SL. That starts at $24,070. SLE1 will ring you around $27,300. SLE2, $28,800. SLT, $30,920, and then the top of the line Denali, $34,275. Now, competitors of the Terrain, you have the vehicles in the compact crossover class. You can also include some mid-size crossovers if you would like. This has more compact dimensions. You're looking at the Nissan Rogue, Toyota RAV4, Honda CR-V, Subaru Forester, and you can also look at the Dodge Journey too, and the Toyota RAV4, Ford Escape. There's many competitors in this class. Now, if you're looking for a third row seat in the Terrain, you won't find that here. You'll have to step up to its larger brother, the Acadia, or the top of the line Yukon. Yeah, rear reflectors, rear window wiper with the rear window defroster, and a third brake light. No shark fin antenna, however. Total vehicle price, you're looking at $28,620. EPA estimates, like I said, 21 city, 31 highway. And then here goes the government 5-star safety ratings. And then here goes the parts content information. Final assembly point is actually in Canada. So if you're expecting Detroit, Michigan, won't find that here. Of course, all of your basic power necessities, power windows, power mirrors, and your power door locks, chrome interior door handles. Interior quality is okay in the Terrain, but it certainly is lagging behind the competition. Not surprisingly, it's also very similar to what you'll find in the Chevrolet Equinox in terms of interior quality. Up here on the upper door panel, it's all hard touch plastic, and then the dashboard is all hard touch plastic as well. But at least you do have this molded stitching over the instrument panel, which is kind of nice. The armrest is slightly padded. It can be a lot more padded than this. It's pretty firm. And then on the mid-door panel, it's nice and soft touch with, you also do have this nice stitching too. But they also really need to focus on the build quality. Many of the trim and pieces and many of the panels feel very flimsy inside of here. And then also, some of them creak a little bit. They just don't feel all that sturdy. Overall, interior quality certainly needs to be improved in the Terrain. The steering wheel also is getting very dated looking. This is General Motors' older steering wheel design. I would much rather prefer their newer steering wheels. But over here you do have your cruise control. You also do have your steering wheel mounted audio controls and your Bluetooth phone controls and your voice recognition. The steering wheel also does manually tilt and telescope. Pretty good range of adjustment, I have to say. Coming to the instrument cluster, it's a very traditional looking setup here. On the left you have your tachometer, and then on the right you have your speedometer, and then up there you have your coolant temperature and your fuel gauge. Pretty basic stuff there. And then coming right there, it is your information center. And then it shows you your digital speedometer, and then it also shows you what gear you're in, and then your direction of travel. You can also change the units from US to metric if you would like. Then you have your turn-by-turn directions for your navigation, your timer, average vehicle speed, and then your fuel economy too, average fuel economy, fuel range, trip information, all that basic stuff. I would love to see a TFT instrument cluster in the future for the Terrain. Down here we also do have a little storage cubby and then 12-volt power outlet. You can also use this as another little storage cubby or maybe as a cell phone holder. You have dual cup holders down here. And then you have another little storage cubby right there. That can also be a cell phone holder. And then you have a very large center console with this tray. And then down there is where you'll also find a USB port as well as an auxiliary input. It's just really deep. And then you have a 12-volt power outlet too. One of the deepest center consoles I've ever seen in a vehicle. And this is also the same center console that you'll find in the Equinox. As far as the seats go, the seats are very plush, very comfortable too. Great for long road trips, and they offer a decent amount of thigh support. These are one of the best seats I've ever sat in from a General Motors product. As far as visibility goes, visibility is not the best. There's a okay amount of glass area on the side windows here, but the A-pillar bases are pretty wide, I have to say. When you get to rearward visibility, it is okay. At least a rear view camera does come as standard equipment on the Terrains here. Up here, you'll also find your OnStar with SOS Safety Connect, and then you have your map lights up here too. Now the Terrain's interior is actually pretty roomy, even for the front occupants. There's plenty of space in here, and I have lots of room to just stretch out. And compared to other crossovers like the Ford Escape or the Toyota RAV4, the GMC Terrain is a much roomier vehicle. Now, on higher end trims for the Terrain, you can get nice styling details such as stitching on the dashboard, which gives it a much more premium vibe inside of here. And then you can also get a wood steering wheel too. Not all wood, but just wood on the top portion of the steering wheel. And then of course you can get leather seating surfaces. But it is missing some features such as a panoramic sunroof, which many of its competitors do offer. Now let's get to the climate controls. The climate controls are pretty easy to figure out overall. You have your fan speeds right here, and then you have your different zones, and then your temperatures, and then your front window defroster, rear window defroster, and your recycling. And the knobs and buttons are of decent size. Now, every GMC Terrain is going to come with this 7-inch touchscreen, and it's the GMC IntelliLink system. It's the main head unit here. Now, this is GMC's older head unit, and I rather much prefer their newer head unit, and I really don't like where it's placed inside of this vehicle. Terrible ergonomics here. It's really hard to reach from the driver's seat as well as the front passenger seat too. This is also the same kind of setup that you will find in the Chevrolet Equinox, and the ergonomics are terrible in both vehicles no matter which one you get. If this is your home screen right here, your different audio sources do include all of the norm: AM, FM, XM satellite radio, USB port with iPod connection, and your auxiliary input. Now the only thing that's really different between Chevrolet's MyLink system and GMC's IntelliLink system is this red background here to match with the whole red theme going on inside of this interior here. But like I said, I rather much prefer GMC's newer head unit. The responsiveness is okay, not the best, but you do have your exterior temperature readout right here, and then your digital clock. And no Bluetooth streaming audio here. You actually have to go for the SLE2 trim just to get Bluetooth audio. Many of its competitors offer that as standard equipment. But over here, you have your configuration settings, and then you have your time and date radio settings, phone settings, display settings, many different settings that you can change here. And you have your quick info too. It's not available right now though. But overall, it's a pretty basic system. You can opt for navigation, of course, and live weather, live traffic, and all that good stuff. And then right here, you also do have your presets. And then you also have many of the buttons that are on the screen that are on right here too. Like the source, you can change your audio source from here, and then your seek buttons, and then your configuration, tone, info, all that good stuff. But it's a pretty nice looking system for a base head unit, but I just don't like where it's placed in the vehicle, and then I rather much prefer GMC's newer IntelliLink system. Now, as far as the way the Terrain drives, the Terrain is one of the best riding vehicles in its class. It's very supple, comfortable, and pretty quiet, especially at highway speeds. Now, the Terrain also has a different suspension setup in the Denali trim that's more comfort oriented. However, it's pretty comfortable no matter what trim you get of the Terrain. Now, the driver engagement, this is not a driver's crossover here, but it does offer a decent amount of feedback. It doesn't feel like a rolling couch or anything like that, and you can feel for where this vehicle is trying to go, but you're not going to want to throw this car around corners a whole lot. If you're looking for a sporty crossover to drive, I suggest checking out the Mazda CX-5. Now, the 2.4 liter 4-cylinder, I recommend avoiding that engine because it feels very sluggish, and you really have to put your foot on the accelerator pretty hard just to get it going somewhere, especially when you're doing regular routine passing maneuvers on highways and things like that. I would certainly go for that V6 engine because it provides Provides 301 horses, which is one of the best engines in the compact crossover class. It's one of the fastest engines too, and it's a much better engine option. It's a much better powertrain too. And the 6-speed automatic transmission never hesitates to shift. It's a pretty refined transmission here, no matter what powertrain that you get. Now let's go ahead and shut down the Terrain. Let's go ahead and check out the rest of the vehicle. Let's go ahead and check out the rear seat space as well as the cargo space. Now, cargo space certainly lags behind some rivals in the Terrain. And if you're looking for a third row seat, it's not available here. You want to look at the Nissan Rogue. But at least these rear seats do fold down by pulling up on these levers right here. And then just pushing the seat down. It's easy as that. And then a 60-40 split too. Now, one area where the Terrain really shines, and one of the reasons why its sales are still pretty strong, is because of how much rear seat space it has. There's lots of space for the rear occupants. I have tons of legroom and tons of headroom. It's just a very comfortable experience back here. You also do have dual map pockets, 12-volt power outlet, and then a rear center armrest with cup holders. And the rear headrests are also adjustable, which is nice. And it's just very comfortable back here, great for extended road trips. And they do slide forward and aft, and they do recline for greater comfort, which is nice. Can't ask for too much more there. All right. So the 2017 GMC Terrain is an okay choice for a compact crossover, and it certainly has some strengths to it with its comfortable and roomy interior and its very potent V6 engine. However, it's certainly in need for a full redesign as it's getting pretty dated. So remember that this is Cameron Birch from Cameron's Car Reviews.